Bickley and Marotta mornings. Arizona sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
Under normal circumstances, Sunday's loss to Seattle would have ripped our hearts out, from the 2 missed field goals to the stadium full of infidels, all the way down to the cigars some Seahawk players were smoking in the opposing locker room after it was all over. But not this year, and certainly not on Sunday. In fact, loss number 13 capped one of the most encouraging 4-win seasons in NFL history, where the Cardinals reestablished Kyler Murray as a franchise quarterback, where head coach Jonathan Gannon proved to be worth the tampering penalty, where the Cardinals established a true, real identity based on physicality and violence and running the football, just as promised, where they dominated second halves near the end of the season when there was nothing to play for, and in the end, they still ended up with the number 4 pick in the NFL draft, possibly in reach of stud receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. And a big assist once again to the Diamondbacks for covering the month of October when Murray was still sidelined and things weren't going so well. The Suns probably wish they had someone covering their backsides at the moment. Anyways, the Cardinals have pulled it off. They've got a bright future and a premium draft pick, the kind generally reserved for the biggest losers and the biggest humps in the league. When do we ever get the best of both worlds? After all, losing has long been a curse for Cardinal fans in the Valley, but on Sunday, it was reason to celebrate. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
I told him this. I said, I'm down we didn't win, and we've been through a lot of adversity this year and didn't do enough. It starts with me, didn't do enough to earn the right for another opportunity to play. But I've never been more enthused going into an offseason, and we found a lot about out who we are and who's going to be a part of this thing. And I'm just really excited to get to the offseason and grow and improve and learn. And as I told them, get on the warpath in 2024. Here we come.
And the way this team has competed down the stretch, you're convinced that confidence can carry over.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt, and it will.
Jonathan Gannon talking with Paul Calvisi on the Cardinals radio network after yesterday's 21-20 loss to wrap up the season against the Seattle Seahawks. And again, we'll start here, and we can kind of branch out in all these different areas,
Sure.
Bick, and that is I was like going back to the beginning of the season, and I predicted the Cardinals would win 2 games this year. I predicted 2-15. They went 4-13, so they doubled my prediction. Still not where they want to be, but if you would have told me back in September that the Cardinals were going to finish 4-13 and people would be optimistic about the future and happy with what they saw from Jonathan Gannon and mostly happy with what they saw from Drew Petzing and Nick Rawlis as first-year coordinators, it would be hard to come to that conclusion. Like, how is that going to happen? You win 4 games. Who could be happy about 4 games? But, Kyler Murray himself talked about it, complete 180-degree change in his feeling from last year. Obviously, he was dealing with a serious knee injury at the end of last year, but he used the word several times, refreshing. So refreshing.
Yeah, and as you accurately said, and as you accurately said, you can hear the smile in Kyler Murray's voice when he says it.
Yes.
And I think you're also right that that's how bad things had kind of fallen. That's how bad the culture had dipped previously. So this has been a revelation. I love Jonathan Gannon talking about getting back on the warpath. I love the fact that his players have clearly responded to him. I love the fact that they've identified the kind of football player they want and don't tolerate the ones they don't. I think there's a lot of good things to kind of grasp onto if you're this football team. And I wasn't expecting this either, to be quite honest with you. I really wasn't. But I think that a lot of this has to do with I had hoped Kyler Murray was going to be good when he came back, and he was. But I think the James Conner, the running game coming together the way it did, I wasn't sure that was going to happen, and it did. And you could see it in the second halves of some of these games over the back end of the season. They put a really good second half up against San Francisco, if I'm not mistaken. They put a good second half up in Chicago. They put a great second half up against the Eagles. They put a great second half up against the Steelers. Those two games were on the road. And then yesterday they were pretty darn good as well. And it's because their running game takes a toll on teams.
It does.
And in the second half, the tacklers don't become as willing. They're not as fervent. They're not as zealous. They're not all up at the line of scrimmage anymore. It's funny how that happens. And James Conner deserves a huge tip of the cap for his performance this season. He got his first 1,000-yard rushing season from scrimmage, which he richly deserved. He has been the star of this offense, and yeah, it's something you can build on. I mean, there's a lot of times, so many times we've had sports teams that we've had expectations for, and we ask, what is their identity? We're asking that about the Suns right now, and then
what are you becoming?
What are you becoming? And when you can't answer that, it's like, okay, what's missing here? The Cardinals answered that question. They clearly had an identity. Now they need some talent.
Yeah, here's part of that identity.
Ball in the Cardinal 24. Murray out of shotgun, takes the snap. Handoff Conner off the right side across the 25-30, 35-40. He's got 1,000 and more at midfield and steps out there. First 1,000-yard season for James Conner. A gain of 26 to midfield.
Yeah, that's the run that put him over. He actually dipped back under 1,000 on the next run, but finished strong, 150 yards on the day. Again, the Cardinals were the only team in the National Football League this year to have 4 games of 200 or more rushing yards as a team. That is something to hang your hat on going in. And look, when you can identify that, what are you? What are we going to be? And under Kyler Murray, the first 4 years of his career with Cliff Kingsbury, the identity was, this is a team that's they're going to run a lot of gadgets at you. They're going to try to outscore you. It's not going to be a real much of a physical running game. When you can hang your hat on a physical running game, that makes things easier on everybody. And it starts with the quarterback.
And what it also does is it lifts the attitude and the swagger of the team to a level that's tough to deal with. And this is the key to everything. It's why for years I harped on the Cardinals' finesse defense, whether it was Antonio Cromartie or Patrick Peterson, having cornerbacks who didn't really want to tackle, who didn't really want to play physical. That ain't it. That ain't it in the NFL. You get too many of those guys, you are not a hardcore football team. You are not a serious football team, and you will be exposed. The Cardinals are the other team now. They're the team exposing the other teams that lack the real toughness.
If you will excuse me, I'm going to preview social studies today.
Okay.
But I'm going to let Kyler Murray participate.
Okay.
Because Kyler, yesterday in his post-game press conference, knew about the impending question of what were your biggest takeaways and what are they going into the offseason?
Because Jared is predictable if nothing else. You know what you're getting.
Here's Kyler Murray on his takeaways going into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, talking to Izzy just personally, last 2 weeks felt like, I'm saying, the form I was telling you about, like, there was really nothing, didn't feel like there was anything that they could do, to stop us. Felt like we were clicking on all cylinders for the most part. I mean, today we were a little sloppier than last week, but y'all don't really know that. And, we'll watch it and clean it up, but obviously, it's a lot to look forward to, but you don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. Nobody in there wants to lose. Feel like we should have won that game, but at the end of the day, yes, in a sense, there is a lot to look forward to, and I'm excited about it. I know the guys are excited about it. And, trust and believe in Monty and JG and what they got going and what they're building here. It's complete 180. And I'm happy, man. I'm happy in the position that we're in. I look forward to going, next season.
Yep. Building block number 1 is in place. And next year, with the improvements that they can make to this roster through the draft and free agency and possibly some trades, we don't know really much about Monty Ossenfort's acumen in trades, but we saw him in the draft. And this is going to be, I think, the first full year of free agency for the Arizona Cardinals. With what they built this year, it's promising. Looking forward.
They're like a family that hasn't been to Target or Walmart in a while. They got a pretty long list of things to buy.
Yeah. They do.
Right. Edge rusher, quarterback.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Bickley and Murata. Click to see the latest Bickley Blast and hit the button in the middle to subscribe to Arizona Sports.